Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing my recipe for lemon drip cake or lemon pound cake. So of course we are going to start out by zesting 2 lemons in order to get that bright, fresh lemon flavor through in the cake. So the origin of pound cake is actually that the cake didn't weigh a pound, but the recipe was made up of 1 pound each of butter, flour, sugar, and eggs. But the name pound cake has stuck around even though that ratio has changed. So then we're going to begin making the cake batter by creaming 1 cup of butter with 1 cup of granulated sugar and a ½ teaspoon of salt. Now it is very important to get a lot of air beaten into the butter and sugar, and you'll actually be able to get even more air into the batter when you add the sugar because the jagged crystals will drag in even more air and create more space in the butter. And then once the cake is put into the oven, the air bubbles will expand and the cake will rise and have a nice airy texture. So now we're going to add in 2 eggs, beating each of them in individually, scraping down the bowl in between each one. Now when the eggs are added, what you're essentially doing is using this natural emulsifier to combine the fat in the butter and the water in the eggs to make one homogeneous mixture. So now we're going to start with our wet and dry ingredients. So in total there will be 1½ cups of flour and 1 teaspoon of baking powder for the dry ingredients, but I started out just by adding a ½ cup. And then once it is combined, I added a 1/4 cup of the ½ cup of milk that will be added in as well. And so you're going to mix this in 3 total additions of flour and 2 additions of milk. And you may notice after adding in the milk that the batter looks a little bit curdled. It'll separate a little bit once you mix it in, but that'll all go away when you add in the final ½ cup of flour. So the final thing that we are going to add into the batter before baking it is going to be what will flavor our lemon cake. So of course we are going to add in our fresh lemon zest, about 2 tablespoons in total, but just as much zest as you get from 2 lemons. And then I also like to add in about 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice as well. It just adds some extra lemon flavor to the cake without causing too many issues in the structure of the cake. So now we are going to prepare our pan. I decided to use a tube pan. You can use a bundt pan or any sort of pan that you would like. So I just buttered it and then I floured it to make sure that the cake does not stick when you turn it out. So then you want to spoon in all of your batter, and this batter is pretty thick so it is not able to be poured, so I just spoon it in and then afterwards I smooth it out with a spatula just to make sure that it's all evenly distributed and so that it won't spill over in the oven. So now we're going to bake it at 350 degrees for 50 to 55 minutes, and while the cake is in the oven I like to prepare what I'm going to put on top. So on top of this cake there is both a glaze and an icing. The glaze keeps in the moisture so the cake doesn't get dry, and the icing adds some additional sweetness and it also looks nice. So for the icing, you want to start with 3/4 cup of powdered sugar roughly, and then you just want to add in lemon juice until icing is just barely pourable. So then you want to heat 3 tablespoons of lemon juice just until it's warm, and then you want to add in a 1/4 cup of sugar, and you just want to mix that until the sugar dissolves into the lemon juice, and that will be your glaze that you will put on the cake. So now I'm going to pull the cake out of the oven. You can see it's got a nice golden brown, and you just want to let it rest and cool. I like to turn it over so that it can cool upside down and drop naturally without the cake breaking. So then you just want to liberally glaze the whole cake, making sure you get every crevice. This imparts additional lemon flavor, and like I said, it prevents the cake from drying out. So then I just used a piping bag to put my icing on, and then I finished it off with some lemon slices that I cut and then I sort of twisted them so that they had this interesting artful architecture to them. And that is the lemon cake. Thank you so much for watching. As always, the recipe will be in the description below, as well as on my website, bakingwithbrie.com. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video so you don't miss any in the future, and leave any suggestions you have for videos you would like to see in the comments below. Bye!